We have WDBR Italy's weather. It's raining here and it's pouring. Goodbye. Cut. Dad.
Wasn't even taken in and introduced to the principal. When they set all this up, you never had met
The principal.
Mr. Brown.
So I was like a week and a half in the student teaching. He's all of Jacksonville, 62650.
What's going on here?
Okay. All right, now, you're still going to do two other things for me. One of them is you're going to make me a chart of all settings or sessions, shall I call them, wherein you and Fritchie discussed anything about you and your career selection or you and your performance in any of these capacities as a student teacher, as a student, as a participant in any of the three practicums, anything that relates in the form of foundation or build up to this explosion on March the 12th and Fritchie's reaction to the March 12th incident. The other thing that we talked about a while back was a chart, if you will, that shows the classes that you were to be responsible for in each of the 3 weeks as you phased into being involved in student teaching in full force. I really don't know anything about that entire area. I think your initial explanation was you would pick up an additional responsibility as far as teaching a class is concerned each week. But what you showed me here on the schedule was by the end of the 3rd week you had already picked up 5 subjects rather than 3. So I'm curious as to how student teaching is ordinarily done as compared or contrasted to how it was done in this setting. We already know that student teaching is usually monitored by one person in a supervisory way. There's a term for that. What do they call this person?
Cooperating teacher.
Cooperating teacher, okay. In this case, we had 4 of them. You know, and nobody knows who the chief was or who the Indians were or anything else.
I spoke to that in this tape. I said, I can't understand. Have you ever tried to work for 4 people at one time?
Yeah,
But he said he wanted that because he used the word bias. He said, I wanted Craig to have 4 people so there wouldn't be any bias.
the hardest place in junior high to have 4 teachers.
Well, that's an odd word to even have any remote concern about, because the only perceivable bias that was involved in any of the practicums was in your second practicum, when you had a person who had just had Fritchie for a class.
Exactly. It was our first year out.
This last gal, I can't remember what the hell her name is.
18 years. Worst class.
She didn't find any fault or find reason to have reservations when she recommended you, correct?
She has reservations that she wrote down.
No, I'm talking about Mrs. Gregory.
Oh, right.
She was the last one, the third practicum. The only one that had any reservations was Kilver.
Kilver, that's her name. Yeah.
And that was in the spring of 1992 when we were at Washington Elementary.
There's no reservations at all about that.
In the previous semester, she had Fritchie as an advisor or teacher or something.
She was Fritchie's teacher.
All right. So where's the room for bias in this whole process?
Why would you want 4 people?
It just doesn't make any sense to me. But all right, now let's get to our remedy.
Unless she wanted to set him up.
We don't really know what the remedy is, and we're sitting here trying to come up with one. So I think we should take a more calculated approach. The last communication we have is March 18, 1993. Is that right? And it's in letter form from John Fritchie.
I've been contacting Graver.
Okay. Graver is disappearing on you in every way that he can, because he, I think, would like to just stay as far away from him as he can. Your war is with Fritchie, and Graver sure as hell is not going to start difficulty with the guy that he's got to live with every day. Craig Stone's come and go, but this knucklehead is probably in the office next to him. So there's not any great mystery in how he's going to handle this situation. He's going to stay away from it and stay out of the line of fire.
April the 5th, wasn't that when?
That was a faculty meeting, and I asked Graver to speak in my behalf.
And he didn't show up.
I don't know. On the faculty meeting.
I thought it was strange that Craig asked, to go, and he campaigned and he's handed out to all the faculty and the letter and stuff that he had about his family and what he had invested and what he had tried to do, and it was all turned down. And so he presented that. Graver said, "You can do your own politics." But yet,
that was his way of saying he wasn't going to show up for you, right?
That was his way of saying, well, you can do what you want, but I don't see how you're going to get this to pass. And then after I did my politicking, I asked him.
Was he the one that recommended this approach?
Yes.
Was it him or Fritchie?
It was him.
And I said, would you speak in my behalf when this petition comes up during the meeting? Well, I usually don't speak.
So he didn't have the guts to say no.
He didn't
What
say
the
no,
hell?
but he didn't say yes. I
He's
said,
sitting there knowing damn good and well he's not going to. He didn't have the guts to tell you no.
I don't know.
See, that's like he was telling me, when we left there. He said he wanted to talk with Patterson and Fritchie, and that he would get back to me. Well, then they called Craig at 5:30 when we got done about 3:30. I got home, and he said that he gave the two options to Craig then, and then he come up with 3 options that he could use, and then he started on this one, which to me was buying time. So Craig has exhausted this, and time is now past the stage because he couldn't plug in.
What was the day that he gave you these two options?
That was on the 12th.
that was on the 15th.
No, on the 15th. That was after our meeting.
Option.
When he called you,
Option
who'd he call?
Me.
Oh,
Okay.
Craig.
Fritchie calls Craig.
It's an option to withdraw
Withdraw.
with no record.
Nothing on my record, just quit.
You have those?
But I have to petition.
3 years. Leave 3 years. Gone.
Withdraw with no record, which is to say there wouldn't be any way of showing in the university records that you were ever involved in student teaching.
Which I thought was
Postponed record.
Okay, takes 3 classes.
Second option is
3 classes.
an alternative to student teaching is what it amounts to.
You can find placement, but it's not
Well,
under
in 10,
department rules. It's
10 days to sell it.
certifiable.
I thought this alternative was 3 classes.
No, we didn't get that till like a week later.
The board
Okay.
wouldn't approve it.
Find placement on your own
Yeah, anywhere
in some school where you can
We
do your
did.
student teaching.
Dad did.
where I
We
would
had
just go ahead and
Masato
look
and
at
Mary
my
Jo.
skills and
Okay.
They wouldn't approve it.
find placement. It's not under the department rules and not
They
certified.
wouldn't approve Masato and Mary Jo. The dad was down there. That term.
Not certifiable and no credit. All right. Now, when does this whole notion of the 3 classes as an alternative come up?
Graver said that to me.
Probably when I asked him about the loophole.
Graver
4 or 5
told me
days
that.
later.
Well, who suggests there might be a loophole?
Graver.
He said something about a loophole, and I heard it on the tape. When I reviewed the tape,
And he brought this up in the meeting and
Yeah.
during the
he
15th?
said there's a loophole. And then I asked him after I heard that, he
Got to
said,
petition the board, and I did.
he said
2 or
some
3
other
times.
students doing this loophole.
They wouldn't let me
that
do it.
wasn't during my meeting.
Yeah, he did say loophole.
Really?
Yeah.
I said there may be some other options.
Now, this was a conversation you had with him some date after the 15th.
Yeah, and he explained to me that it's a student
This is a phone conversation?
phone, and then I went in to find out. Yeah, phone was phone.
About when?
Oh,
18th maybe?
It's Tom Lacy, the lawyer, and the
Now,
king,
now, let's get down to what that alternative is. 3 classes,
which I could have
and
done.
what else?
I could have done,
In lieu of student teaching.
right. Then go substitute
One
10
one
days.
thing there, Tom, let me back up a
Which I would have done. I asked
Okay.
him to.
March 15th, I was to have a meeting with Dr. Fritz tonight. I got to school, you remember him talking about that, south at 7, left lesson plans on all the teachers' desks. Saw Mrs. Hoffman, and she said, will you be back at 10? Got to my 9 meeting at 8:30. I overheard Dr. Fritz talking to Dr. Bronner and told him I was there. He said to come on in. After he stopped talking to Bronner, he started chewing me out, talking of common sense. It's my own fault. Don't point the finger at my language. He went to the meeting with the president that he had scheduled with, and I called my dad. Dr. Graber came in, and I talked all of this over with him. Fritchie came back and gave me several options. He said I was incompetent. I could withdraw from student teaching, and if it were up to him, I might never be accepted into student teaching again.
Yeah.
Then
they
later
were
he said maybe he would change his mind.
They weren't
He
gonna let me.
said some people just aren't meant to be teachers.
He wasn't going to let me
Options:
teach.
1 is get a degree major in political science history. 2 was work on skills, student teach in the fall. 3, secondary ed, 14 semester hours.
Look for them.
So I called my dad, and he
More
said,
harassment.
do not withdraw. Tape was made of this conversation at 2 p.m. Then go ahead.
If he wanted to let me
Okay.
teach.
These things you learn at 9 o'clock when you're having your meeting with him. Who all was there when he starts telling you that if it's up to him, he's not going to allow you to?
2-month-old at home. 2-month-old at home.
Two.
So he's shooting his mouth off in front of this high school principal.
No,
They
were
Graber
buddies.
is superior.
They were all
Oh,
buddies.
okay. I'm thinking of Fawn.
Yeah.
Graver.
So now tell me what you should
They
do.
Is
named
Graver actually his superior?
Yeah, he was. I think Graber's leaving. He's turned everything over to this guy.
Well, yeah, but as
Dr.
a plan-
Yeah,
Graber.
he is the superior.
Dr. Graber
Okay.
said that Dr. Fritchie is the chairman of education, and it is his decision.
But Graber's
In the
retired.
meantime, my father had arranged for me to do my student teaching at White Elementary under Mrs. Early principal. This was acceptable with Dr. Fritchie.
There.
I still don't know if I was to go back to school Tuesday or not. So I called Dr. Bronner, or Mr. Bronner, at 8:30 Monday evening. Mr. Bronner stated that Dr. Fritchie had called him at 1:30 p.m. Monday and said it was his opinion, Dr. Fritchie's, to pull me out of the program. He also asked
Pull me out.
Mr.
This is
Bronner
after a
if
test
he
that
and
you gave me a
Mrs.
big
G
plus on.
would write up an evaluation of Craig and bring it to his office. I had talked to Dr.
That's
Fritchie
what he
at
wanted to do with me
5:35.
when
The
he told
conference had
Mom
been
that
at
I'd
2
never
p.m.,
graduate.
but no one had told me I was out of the program. 5:30 p.m. Monday, Dr. Fritchie called me and gave me these options. Option 1, I can withdraw with no record, petition EPC College Board agreement with the faculty. Option 2, find placement, receive no credit under the rules. I would not be certified. This is Graber's policy, not viable, was what Fritchie had said there at that meeting.
Craig, I think you're probably wasting tape if you're taping this, because we're just
Yeah.
having a regular discussion.
Dr. Fritchie called again.
Not really wasting tape there. I think I was wasting tape at all. That was a session. Man, it was nice to hear Dad. I haven't heard his voice since 10, 11 years ago. Let's stop this and turn it over. We have a rewind button. I think we do. The meeting is on. I have the meeting, but that was the lawyer's meeting. When me and Dad talked with the lawyer. How do I rewind? Sorry about the technical difficulties, boys, but motion outside. Rewind this. We're rewinding part 2 of part 1 of part 2. Stopping this tape to go to the next one.